welcome back to Galactic Reviews. This week we're going to do a review and comparison on both the Space Jam and Space Jam 2: A New Legacy. So, without further ado, we will jump right into it. A brief synopsis of this movie of Space Jam: A New Legacy. For the original Space Jam, it's 20 years old. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a phenomenal movie. But for New Legacy, it is about LeBron James trying to connect with his son, and he gets sent this email saying by Warner Brothers that their algorithm has come up with a movie idea for him. He doesn't like it. Drama happens, and he and his son end up getting sucked into a video game where the only way they can win is by playing basketball against the AI. And he meets Looney Tunes there, and that's about it.
Overall, the movie, I say it had potential.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, it had
Had
potential.
had potential. The idea of it was good. It's just I honestly don't know with this movie. It has so many things wrong with it
It
to
really
me.
does, honestly.
To me, that make that so comparing this movie to the first one is they are to me complete polar opposites, except that it's a
Hmm.
Looney Tunes movie that revolves around basketball.
I mean, I wouldn't even say this one was really a Looney Tunes movie because the Looney Tunes really take more of a back seat in this one than they do in the first one.
Well, they do once you get into the movie and it explains the reason why, but overall, I would have to rate this movie on like probably a 3.5. Sadly, I just didn't really enjoy this movie. If I want to watch Space Jam, I'm gonna watch the original one
Yeah.
with Michael Jordan.
So, spoiler-free review. CGI was good. LeBron can't act. I think that's the biggest takeaway is LeBron really can't act. And I'll get more into that with spoiler territory. Bad guy never really looked like a threat at all. And then
I don't know.
he still never felt like a threat.
Honestly, to me, the score was just a whole bunch of Looney Tunes and just Warner Brothers music that
Yeah.
has already been used already.
Yeah.
There was only a few that were original.
When comparing the other two, the scores are vastly different. One has way better music.
Yes.
Granted, the stuff in between the music is probably about the same, but the music
More or
that is
less.
brought up in Space Jam 1 is way better than what is brought up in Space Jam 2.
Yes.
Yeah, overall, I'd probably give this a 3 or 4. I'd put it actually on par with Black Widow, like as far as like viewing wise.
As viewing wise,
As
I can okay. In your eyes, I can get that. I would much prefer to watch Black Widow over this movie.
Well, I mean, like they both do very little
Oh,
at
I get
all,
that.
and if anything, it feels more like a chore of watching it instead of actually enjoying watching it. That's all I gotta say, spoiler free wise. We are now getting into spoiler territory, so you have been warned.
An alarm's going off. It's
Yeah,
a siren. Wee woo, wee woo. Now that we can get into spoilers, the explanation of the Looney Tunes kind of taking a back seat does, in a way, make sense. As much as I hate to admit it, it's because they were trying not to be Looney Tunes, trying to be Wonder Woman, Superman, whatever else you want to compare them to. It
yeah.
makes sense they lost their touch, they were no longer needed, so they tried to do something different.
Well, it wasn't so much that they were no longer needed. They were told that hey, there's better places to go than just this one
I will
world.
say, I
Which
enjoyed seeing Marvin the Martian.
for 2 seconds,
I wish I saw more of him, yes. I
in the
wish I
first one,
saw
he's
more
somewhat.
of
In the
Daffy
first
Duck.
one, I wish I saw more of every single Looney Tune character. I mean, you really only
Um,
get to see Bugs and Lola, and even then, it's Bugs and Zendaya. It's not really Lola.
but Daffy Duck had a huge role, well, huge role, big role in the first one. In this one, he was just on the sidelines the whole time. He wasn't
Yeah,
used.
yeah,
Wile E.
no.
Coyote was used more than Daffy Duck.
Which I still liked. I liked that was the
I
part I
enjoyed
did like was
that
Wile E.
I
Coyote. I
dude,
liked Wile
Wile
E.
E.
Coyote and
Coyote.
Roadrunner being used more. My problem was in the first one they used a lot more obscure characters in it. Like you got to see the dog Foghorn Leghorn always fights with in Looney Tunes. In the
Mm-hmm.
first Space Jam, in this one, I don't think you got to see the dog at all. There were a whole bunch of characters that you got more that were more prominent in this one, like Gossamer. He wasn't in the first one, which is a weird
You
choice,
don't
but
get what's Pepe.
You don't get Pepe Le Pew. Well, there's actually a reason for that.
Well,
But
I know there's a reason, but still, I want to see
and
Pepe.
they were about to cancel Speedy Gonzalez too before Gabriel Iglesias said, "Stop! What you doing? I'm with you." So
I
it's
wish you got to
well, he
see
was
a bit more of Speedy. The one scene you did get to see, the first scene he was in, was by far my favorite.
with the Matrix thing.
Yes.
That was cool.
Oh no, my sombrero.
Oh no, my sombrero.
Oh, I loved that. That one was great. There were some fun moments in it, few and far between. I don't know, probably my favorite moment, and I know I've told you before, is obviously when Sylvester goes and finds Michael Jordan. Michael
Only it's
Jordan.
Michael. Only it's Michael
B,
B. Jordan. Yeah,
not Michael A. Jordan.
yeah. And Daffy gets on to him about that, and it's funny because you actually see a thing on his clipboard saying "Wrong Jordan, trade Sylvester."
Which
On his,
I did go back and double check, and yes,
I
I
thought that was
I
hilarious.
was. They do great with minor details like that.
Yeah,
You just
and
have to pay attention for them.
They do great with Easter eggs all throughout this one, as well as the first one. The first one had more to do with Looney Tunes Easter eggs and Looney Tunes characters that you really didn't get to see prominently in most of the
Yeah,
cartoons, were actually in the first Space Jam and more throughout as well as being part of the Looney Tunes universe. Whereas this one, it
you
focused
only
on
have a
maybe,
set number.
yeah, it's like maybe like 10 at
10.
max.
Hmm.
Um,
10.
like I'd say 10, maybe somewhere in between 10 and 15, but it's not a whole lot.
Some of them that you see as iconic Looney Tunes get used once,
Yeah.
like Porky Pig,
Porky Pig got used only for the rap battle. That was about it.
and that was it. He had
Elmer
no other
Fudd was
purpose.
Elmer Fudd was there for comic relief. Yosemite was there
Yeah,
just
but
to
he
show that
was.
he still had his guns. Like that's about
I was, yeah, I was really wishing for Daffy Duck to pull out and become
in the
Duck Dodgers.
24th.
That's what I was expecting instead of
Yeah,
Superman. I was
yeah.
expecting Duck Dodgers.
Duck Dodgers in the
That would have
24th
been
and a half
so much cooler.
century. Yeah, it would have.
Would have made
Let's
so
see.
much more sense
It really
because
would have.
he's a legitimate superhero that wants to join
And I
the
mean, he even
mischief.
called Porky his sidekick. So I mean, that would have been perfect for that. But
Exactly. That would have been so much better than making him a Duck
knock off
Superman.
Superman. Yeah,
He already
yeah.
has his version of a superhero, Duck
And didn't
Dodgers.
and didn't like Porky dress up as Jimmy Olsen, like
Yes,
classic Jimmy Olsen? I
yes.
thought that was a nice touch,
I
considering
thought
that
it was too. But still, they had a lot of opportunities and they wasted it.
they dropped the ball in so many places.
Um,
But I mean, it was much like the Tom and Jerry movie, where it was focused more on the humans instead of the main characters that made people get in the seats. Now, granted,
at least with them, you only have two characters, Tom and
yeah. Whereas in
Jerry,
this one, you have like so many, and
so
you
you
give
can,
like only some time to,
yes.
and the only one you really gave was Bugs. Granted, Bugs had a great
Bugs is the face
storyline.
of Looney Tunes, which I get.
Yeah,
But
and he had a decent
still, when you
storyline,
think
but
Bugs, you immediately go to his
Daffy, Elmer Fudd,
rival
Yosemite Sam,
is Daffy Duck, and you barely got to see. They just like wrote him in, said Daffy Duck's here. Check.
and
Let's not use him.
Bugs, Daffy, and Porky are the iconic trio of Looney Tunes. And I think Lola had more screen time than Daffy. I'm going to be honest.
He did.
Um,
She did. I mean, yeah.
and
She had more screen time.
she's relatively way more new. I will say the dynamic between all Looney Tunes characters was way better in one than two.
Yes. I mean,
Um, and
they had
also,
more references like in the first one, Men in Black, the Men in Black reference between Elmer
yeah,
Fudd and
Yosemite Sam. That was
Daffy.
awesome.
Yeah, Yosemite. My bad. That I
That was
was like
awesome. I
that
was not
that makes
expecting
sense.
that. I did not remember that until I
Was that
watched
your
it right after. No,
yeah,
I did not. I like it's been a while since I watched that first
it
Space
yeah,
Jam.
the way both the movies start are completely different. The first movie, you have this iconic opening score that is just beautiful to Michael Jordan, represents him so well, and it fits perfectly in with that story. in the
Yeah,
beginning,
where it's a guy that
where
went from basically nothing to going up to be the best he could ever be. Even got told in, I believe it was he never got on the team in high school, but then was able to
mhm.
play in college. Like this is the guy that got all the way to the top by working hard, whereas LeBron James had been. I'm not gonna go that far, but
Well,
you know what I
he
mean.
was pretty much the top always, but the way they did it, it was like I wasn't a big fan of the opening score in this one.
Yeah, no.
Um,
The
then
music was
the whole
basically just there. It was
yeah,
not. Nothing was
the
exciting about
the
it. It
whole
was just
idea of him playing a video game and it wasting his time to prevent him from being the best
that's kind of pathetic considering that
kind of
Michael
felt like
Jordan was watching TV with his kids.
kind of felt like a cop out to finding a plot that can connect him and his son.
It felt like it was
I
almost
don't know if it
automatically
could.
always shoehorned in with him and his kid, like every single time about video games. Like that was he has video gamophobia, I guess, or he just has a hate for video games. He really does not. I'm not going to say phobia because it's not an irrational fear. He just hates them. He
Yeah,
understands them. He just hates them. Phobia is
yeah.
stupid to say.
It just didn't make sense. It was just there to progress the plot, really.
Pretty much
While
just to
while
essentially was just there to bring them back
with
together.
the first one, it just made sense. It it referenced Michael Jordan being a golfer for a time, being a baseball player, which is when it took place.
I will say I will give props to both films because it made fun of the main star of the film, if you will, on both of them. And I think the funniest, to me, the funniest moments for the second one was the LeBron James jokes,
They did have some pretty good jokes. But
and those were about the only jokes that did land.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
the Looney Tunes had some good jokes.
yeah, but the problem was they weren't allowed to be.
Looney Tunes
Yeah,
until like
and even then it felt like they
for
were
five
trying to.
minutes.
Yeah, and even then it felt like they were trying to just hurry it up and get as much Looney out of Looney Tunes as they could, and
Yeah,
it felt like it was just rushed at that point.
I think the best part for their Looney Tune endeavor was Wile E. Coyote and the is it Acme multiplier? I think Acme is the
Acme
company.
multiplier. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
um,
saved the game.
100%.
He single
And then
handedly
the
saved the game.
Kylie Wile E. Coyote points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the original one, I think he's the one that ends up actually building the rockets that way they can shoot off the boss
Mhm.
anyway. So I mean,
Yeah.
he's still a prominent character in
Oh
both,
yeah,
but
he
in
will
this one he
always be a
just
prominent. And Roadrunner got more screen time in this movie than I think he did in the first one.
yeah. Well, I think
Which
Roadrunner
I'm
was
okay
actually a
with.
part of the. I
I
think in
really
this one
enjoy.
Roadrunner was actually a part of the team. I don't know if he was in the
He
first one.
was. I don't
Oh, he
remember.
was.
It's been a while. He. I. I don't remember. I can't say yes or no to it. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Roadrunner had a lot of good parts. The classic smokescreen, but honestly, I did not enjoy the way this movie dragged the characters into the Toon World, while the
Well,
first one, the original, made more sense.
yeah. The first one actually had a decent
It
plot. This one
had
felt like it
it
was
had
just
it was
plot was
just a
shoehorned in and it kept
basketball.
on getting. Yeah.
No, the whole plot for this was basketball and Looney Tunes, and they're like, this was great. Let's do it again, but have no plot, no structure, just basketball and Looney Tunes.
Yeah, they really just had no plan at all, and it
They
felt
just had an idea.
you could just see that all the way through. They were just like, well, we're losing money on this IP if we the more we don't use it, so let's go ahead and just use it. And that's what it felt like. And at least the Tom and Jerry movie at least somewhat made sense. I
It had
it's
plot, it had
it had
structure.
plot. I wish it was better constructed. I wish the acting was better in Tom and Jerry, but it was better in Tom and Jerry than it was here.
Yes.
I mean, granted, Space Jam 1, it had some points you can tell they're just saying their lines, especially some of the basketball players. You can tell they're just saying lines. They're not
Well,
even
some of them
trying,
were
they
just
can't even.
they were just in for cameos really at
I
that
know,
point.
I know, and that's where I don't fault him. This one, LeBron James is actually trying to be an actor, and he's doing bad at it. He was better as a voice actor during the 2D part, and even
Mm-hmm.
then, it wasn't that great. So
Yeah. No, agreed.
I did like most of the Looney Tunes. All of them sounded like the OG Looney Tunes except for Lola Bunny, which they just made sound like Zendaya for whatever reason. I don't know why they chose it that way, but they did,
Yeah,
and that's the only
yeah.
part that seems off. Everybody else
And then I also
sounds
I
phenomenal.
didn't like the fact that they tried to give them the modern look in the basketball game either.
Yeah, and I think that's. I wish that would have pissed off Bugs Bunny more, because then that would have been like you're taking away our tooniness or our
Yeah,
Looney
our
Tunes,
looniness,
our 2D
whichever.
tunness, which
Exact, yeah. They in this movie they kind of just destroyed the Looney Tunes, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say destroyed. I think
They
they
did
took a nice
destroy them.
hit. I
Yeah,
think
they
it
took
took
a
a nice
nice
hit.
hit.
I don't think it destroyed them.
I would have really enjoyed to see a cameo for Michael Jordan,
Yeah, I think that
but
would have
I
been good, but I don't.
understand
But I'm glad he
why
did it now.
he. I was gonna say I understand now why he wasn't in it, whether it
Yeah.
was his choice or just he couldn't do it because of
Hmm.
other reasons, but I'm glad his name is not attached to this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Wish they got DCAU Wonder Woman voice actor to do the Wonder Woman instead of Rosario Dawson because I'm kind of getting tired of her doing all these voices that I keep on saying. I
Yeah,
understand that she's got a lot of popularity, but she's starting to get annoying. I liked all the Easter eggs scattered throughout the
yeah,
whole
which I
movie
was gonna bring
in
up.
both.
If they brought every single person from the Warner Brothers verse or whatever, I forget
Mhm.
what they called it, then why weren't there more Looney Tunes in the crowd, like as cheerleaders, as they were in the original?
Also, it would have been funny for them to make a Tom and Jerry reference and say, "Aren't they tunes? No, they ain't tunes. Leave them alone."
They had
Like that would have
a
been
lot of,
hilarious because a lot of people get them
but
confused
no,
and think
they
Tom and
had
Jerry are
they had a reference
partially in it.
had a reference with Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I mean they had a whole bunch of references all throughout. It was just
I mean,
it
it was
felt
like
more like
it makes sense,
which
but
which is
not
okay. I mean,
necessarily. I
which
enjoyed
is
the reference with Rick and Morty because you they had it with the Tasmanian Devil, which
yeah.
makes sense. He's just an enigma.
I would have liked this more because like Ready Player One, they have a whole bunch of Easter eggs, and that's essentially a lot of what the movie is. But Ready Player One still had a plot. This one felt like it was all Easter eggs, all nostalgia, and no plot. This one really felt like that. And the
It
plot that was there really felt like it was pushed or wasn't authentic enough. So, I
if
mean, take it how you will. But
kids can enjoy this movie, I will say that, but once they get older, they can't go back and rewatch this movie, especially if you show them the original, which I'm sure they will want to check out now.
yeah,
It's
most
the
definitely the
referenced
original.
so many times in this movie. There was one before this, let's go watch that one. I
Mhm.
this could be a promo to get people to rewatch and rebuy the original,
I don't
or
know. I don't
what?
think they're.
I
I
don't
don't think
think
they're that
so.
smart. I don't think they're that smart.
I don't think so. It could be a possibility. If it is, then I'm impressed by them. It made
Yeah.
a lot. I would believe it would make a lot of people go back and watch it.
Oh yeah. And say how crappy the new one is. Another problem I had was Don Cheadle, decent actor. I'm not gonna hit on the man that hard. He's just not that villainous. Standing
I
next
was
to
gonna say
LeBron,
he's not much of a villain, and he's mostly a sidekick or
yeah,
side
he's
character, not really a main character or villain.
it's
He's
just
just
something that he doesn't seem to be able
there.
to pull off.
Yeah,
So,
he's
but
a
yeah,
great
no,
actor,
and
but it this just wasn't his movie.
um,
Especially when they tried to give him the big evil voice, I was just like,
yeah,
it's
it
not
just
really working.
that just felt so cringy. It it
Felt way
hurt
too
you.
forced. You're like, we
It
already know he's the villain. You don't have
it
to
it yeah, it was
force
like it was. Well, I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to tell you it was the villain because I mean LeBron is like towering over Don Cheadle like throughout the whole movie.
I did like the fact you got to see bits and pieces of Monstars. I enjoyed seeing them. That was cool.
Algae Rhythm at the very end of the thing where he goes into the whole CGI phase. It is not a good look. That one was about the worst looking CGI at the in the whole movie. And this is with CGI Elmer Fudd.
They have so much potential. They just didn't pull it off in this movie.
I think they tried to go too realistic. I'm guessing.
That's
It's
what
they're
they do
keeping their
nowadays. They just go way too realistic, and
which
it's
which I will give Tom and Jerry credit for. They let it stay more animated. They did not try to go too realistic. They let it stay more animated, which I mean, you can pull it off with Sonic the Hedgehog and still keep its cartooniness, cartoony look,
yeah.
and still make it somewhat realistic. That's about the best you're gonna get, in my opinion. It could get better with the more the technology advances, but for right now, that's about the best it's gonna get.
Whoever wrote this script just shouldn't have, and
They spent the whole time trying to bring in the Looney Tunes, and then
not
when they
use
got
them
the Looney Tunes, they didn't act like the Looney Tunes for like a good two
95%
thirds of the
of the
movie.
movie.
2/3 of the movie, I'd say, and then at the last like 30 to 20 minutes, you're getting a being all loony as all get out.
I mean, they had talked about doing this movie for years. They've been planning this movie for almost 10 years now.
I want to say this movie. I think they've said they've had a whole bunch of sequels in the works that they've been wanting to do,
Yes,
but they've
which
never been able
baffles
to get
me,
one land.
how this one made it through.
Like, how is this? Like, if this is the one
Your
that made it
best,
through, what makes? I'm trying to think of how bad the other ones were. If and I get
I'm,
maybe
no,
like there
no,
could have been like some production problems and
no,
stuff,
I'm
but
sure those ones were much better because by that time, their last big movie had
mhm.
just come out with the Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes back in action.
They had so much potential and they just kept dropping the ball in multiple different places. One thing that upsets me about both of these movies, and it's something that really can't be controlled, is that Mel Blanc doesn't voice any of the characters, and
Yep.
that is something that hurts me deeply. Yeah, he died in '89, like
Oh,
very late
well,
'80s.
well, there's nothing to be helped with that, sadly.
I
Um,
know, and that's just the problems of life. Like there was nothing that could have been done about
yeah,
that, but it's just one of the sad things that we'll never get.
but all in all, there's nothing much else to say for this movie. I can't even
Yeah, it
say
was
go
just,
watch it. Go watch the original. First off,
but they did it.
I didn't even like their basketball, though it was not basketball, it was a
Yeah,
video
they
game.
tried to make it a video game
They tried,
basketball-esque, and it
yeah,
just
no,
did
it
not
didn't work.
work at all. Some
Understand,
of the characters I liked, some of the characters I
I
didn't.
was
I
gonna say,
think Kronos was
giving,
the best
giving,
one, and then they killed him
giving
off
the
really quick.
characters, giving the characters their special abilities and everything. If it was a normal basketball game, I would have been like, oh, that's cool. This can work. This can be a difficult normal basketball game.
And I mean, they even cheat themselves by making themselves more skilled by hacking the game anyway. So I mean, it
And
really
then,
is just
and
not even basketball. It's
another
just
thing I want to bring up that doesn't make any sense. So I don't know if it was like this in the first one or not. I didn't go back and rewatch it. You had them; they were winning by all these points, and then the second half comes around and they don't get any more points.
yeah, I know it was weird.
They get like
Um,
three more points and that's it. Just
well,
enough points to be winning. It
I
doesn't
mean,
make any sense.
yeah, it was messed up.
And
Like
then
there's no other better way to say
trying
this.
to make him more of a villain by saying all of you are trapped in here now if he doesn't win. I'm like,
I mean,
that's a
that
good
like
villain
how
move, but people are just gonna go to Warner Brothers because they know where it came from and fix
yeah,
the problem.
yeah. Well, no,
At
they're gonna
least
sue
having
him.
Michael,
They're
no,
gonna sue.
screw. At least
That's a
having
whole
Michael
bunch of
Jordan,
lawsuits on your hands, and
at least
they can't have anything about it because
Having Michael Jordan go to a different planet and become shackled. That's a real like
yeah,
punishment
yeah.
that cannot be fixed.
I mean, like I was as I was watching the movie, I was like, when he said that punishment, I was like, if I think about it, I would actually like it for a couple days. Heck, I would like it for my lifetime, just hanging around with Batman, Robin,
Yeah,
Superman. I mean, I'd be having the biggest dream,
yeah.
and to be telling me, hey, I'm gonna be stuck here, I'd be cheering for the Goon Squad all day. I would say, Dom, please do not make that last basket.
Yep.
Pretend like you're your father, and pretend somebody just barely hits you, and then you fall down. And I think LeBron is actually one of the most. I believe there was a study that said he was either the most hated player on Twitter or on in the internet and it's not even close or something like that. He's very controversial. I mean, like it's either you like him or you hate him once you know his politics. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's a nice guy. Like in general, I'm pretty sure he's a nice guy. He's just putting his politics and pushing it. And people who probably would agree with you on a lot of that stuff, it's becoming annoying. And even then, he's also becoming more hypocritical with the more stuff he keeps on pushing out. So, I mean, it's just, you got to know when to say your stuff and know when to shut up. I feel like he's going to lose more people that he could have reached out more than he's going to help them.
No, I think that's about it. That wraps this
Yeah,
one up.
no, I think that's about it.
Thanks for everyone for watching today's
Thanks.
episode
Yeah,
of Galactic Reviews. Tune in next week when we go over the new Snake Eyes movie, and we'll let you know just how bad it really is.